as I usually do with movies based off like source material such as games or comic books, I'm going to start off this review by talking about what I've experienced from the Silent Hill series. So I've played and completed the first game and Homecoming. I completed Homecoming a long time ago, so I can't remember much about it. I remember thinking, I think it was okay. I think I thought it was okay, but I played it a long time ago, so I can't remember much about it. I completed the first game rather recently though, and I really enjoyed it. I own the second and third game, haven't played them yet. Of course I'll get around to doing it eventually. And of course I'll play and complete all of the other games in the series eventually as well. It's just when I get around to doing it. I've watched the first film and I remember, I watched it a long time ago, like years and years ago, so I can't remember much about it once again. However, I think I liked it. I think I thought it was okay. I can't remember much about it though. So for Silent Hill 3D Revelations, or Silent Hill 2, whatever you want to call it, we watched it in 2D. We would have watched it in 3D, however the cinema we went to did not have a 3D showing, so we were just stuck with a 2D showing. Oh well. I have no idea if it was shot in 3D or not. I didn't bother to read up on that. So this movie has been getting panned by critics, I mean, and just people in general. It hasn't gotten good reviews, or at least from what I've seen. So I went into this movie with really low expectations. I was expecting the worst when I went into this. And I ended up thinking it was okay, to be honest. It wasn't bad. I felt as if it was enjoyable. I suppose I see why some people hated it, but personally I felt as if it was okay. I was entertained, let's put it that way. I would go as far as to say it was good, to be honest. I think the main problem people have with the movie is that the story doesn't really feel strong, I guess. Like, this movie is more about the action, I suppose. Like, the story isn't very strong. And also, not only is the story not very strong, it's also very confusing. I think the main cause of the story being really confusing is because basically all of the information you need to know about the story is delivered or given to you in this one single scene. Very early on in the movie, we'll call it the motel scene. So if you're going to watch this movie, watch out for the motel scene. All of the information you need to know about the story is delivered to us, the audience, in this one scene. And if you miss this one scene, you won't have a clue what the hell's going on for the whole entire film. Basically. Like, everything you need to know about the story is delivered to you in this one scene. And it's, not only is it delivered in this one scene, it's also delivered extremely quickly. Thus, it becomes confusing because it's only said this one time. Like, it's a lot of information as well. They give you a lot of information in this one scene, and the characters talk fast, so... And it's not repeated either, so you gotta kind of like process all of this information given to you. Like, there's a large quantity of information given to you in such a short amount of time, so it does become very confusing and difficult to kind of take in everything that's being said. So I do believe that's like the main reason a lot of people find the story confusing. Like, I was like it doesn't even matter if you're paying attention to the scene either, because like I said, the information is delivered extremely quickly. And it's kind of difficult to take in every word that is being said and take in every single, you know, element of the story, because it's given to you in such a short amount of time and it's not repeated at all for the remainder of the movie. So it's kind of, you know, I do believe that's the main cause of the story being very confusing. That one scene, if you miss it, you're screwed. And even if you do pay attention to it, there's a good chance you're not going to remember most of the information given to you, because it's given so fast and it's just kind of difficult to take in. So I do believe that's the flaw, like one of the main causes of the story being very confusing. Like, I was still confused by a lot of things. Like, I kind of got the gist of the movie, but there was still quite a few things that happened which I didn't quite understand. For example, what was up with that emblem thing? Like, she has to find the two parts, right? Well, she has one half of this emblem, and she has to find the other half in the asylum. And when she pieces them together, what did that really do? Like, and I was confused by that. That didn't really seem to help her out in any way, or do anything. Like, what was the deal with that emblem? I never got it. There were a few things in the story which I still didn't understand. Like, why is this happening? Oh, like, you know, some of the things just didn't quite make sense. Maybe they happened and they just don't make sense. Maybe they were never explained, but I'm assuming they were explained or briefly mentioned in that, like, extremely quick delivery of all the information about the story in that motel scene. So I guess I just missed it. Like, I didn't quite understand some things that happened. I just didn't understand why they were happening. But for the most part, I got the gist of the story. But like I said, all of the information is delivered to you in that one scene very quickly, and it's not repeated. So there's a good chance you're not going to take in all of the information said, and you're not going to remember everything said. So I think that's the cause of the confusing story. And again, the story isn't really too strong anyway. It's more about a character going to places while escaping monsters. Like, it's basically a character going to these destinations while encountering all crazy monsters. That's basically the movie. But I don't see there's nothing wrong with that in my opinion. It's entertaining, and as long as the movie's entertaining, I don't see what the big deal is. Like, I really enjoyed it. What should I talk about next? The action. This movie is heavy on action, so not so much on the story is it heavy on, but it's heavy on the action. So that's what I mean by it's entertaining. The story isn't the strong point of the movie, but it's extremely entertaining because there's quite a lot of action. Like, the sets of the movie, in my opinion, the sets are pretty cool. Like, you got the typical Silent Hill sets with the, like, really rusty, metallic, industrial, rusty, you know, textures and stuff on the walls, like really industrial settings. They look I think they look great. Like, the sets of the movie are great. So the movie is eye candy, so it's worth watching just to, like, kind of gaze at the awesome set design. I felt as if they did a good job of designing the sets and whatnot. And the creature designs, we can't really give them credit for the creature design, since I believe every single creature featured in the movie are based off creatures in the games. So I can't give them credit for creature designs, but the creatures are cool anyway. I mean, the nurses are awesome. I really like the nurses. Pyramid Head. Well, he's Pyramid Head. He's badass. Like, why is he in the movie? Like, I understand he appears in Silent Hill 2 because like, the monsters appear in Silent Hill, in the games at least, because they are a representation of the character's flaws or fears, something like that, I believe. Like, I'm not an expert in Silent Hill, but this is, like, from what I kind of remember reading up on. So, Pyramid Head was supposed to represent James's, like, I can't remember. Like, I did read it a while back. I think Pyramid Head was supposed to be a punisher, like James's way of punishing himself. I believe that is what Pyramid Head was supposed to be. But in the movie, I'm not sure. Like, I'm not sure if the creatures in the movie are supposed to represent the character's flaws, or whether or not Silent Hill is just populated by demons and creatures in general. So I think I'm not sure if this is. I'm pretty sure it's said at one point, but the creatures don't represent the character's flaws like they do in the game. But instead, Silent Hill is just populated by random creatures. I think that's the deal with the Silent Hill universe in the movies. So I guess it makes sense for the creatures to appear here. Like, it makes sense for Pyramid Head. Well, Pyramid Head was the girl's guardian anyway, and executioner, so it makes sense for him to appear. But I think a lot of fans are pissed off that they had Pyramid Head appear here because he's popular. Like, I know he appeared in the first movie for a brief, like, 5 seconds as well, but I didn't really care anyway. Like, watch the movie to see flashy, colourful, pretty lights and awesome sets and cool creatures. Like, that mannequin creature was awesome as well. The special effects weren't too bad. I mean, there's a lot of moments where you're like, that's clearly fake. Like, some guy gets his fingers chopped off and they kind of fly towards the camera for the 3D gimmicky effect. But, like, the fingers look so bad. I mean, the CGI and the fingers are pretty bad, let's just say. Like, the creatures for the most part look awesome. I mean, Pyramid Head, he looked awesome. He looked fantastic as far as I'm concerned. And for the most part, the special effects were decent enough, but there are 1 or 2 moments where it's kind of like, well, that's obviously CGI. Like, there's an opening, the opening sequence involves fire, and the fire looks atrociously bad. Like, to the point where it's just awkward to sit there and watch. It's like, can we move on now? Like, this special effect is, like, really awkward because they're so bad to watch. But everything else was fine for the most part. Like, all the creatures looked good. They look decent enough, I felt. And Pyramid Head's badass, like I said. The scene with the nurses, like, I think the nurses are really cool creatures. Like, they only react to sound in the movies. Like, they do in the games as well, but they also react to lights. But in the movies, they only react to sound. And I felt as if that was a really cool scene. They only appear in one scene, but I felt as if it was a pretty suspenseful scene. It was a pretty tense scene. I mean, the 2 nurses kill these 2 random background characters that come out of nowhere. Like, these 2 characters exist just to show to the audience that the nurses only react to sound. These two characters are only in this one scene and get killed by the nurses immediately, and their only purpose is to show to the audience that the nurses only react to sound. So they get killed like straight away by the nurses. But what a bunch of dumbasses. I mean, these guys get killed by the nurses. I mean, just watch the scene. It's terrible. Like, them getting killed by the nurses was atrociously bad, but everything after that point onwards was fine, as far as I'm concerned. Like, the guy tied to the bed with all the nurses, like, getting closer to him every time he moves. I thought that was great. In fact, I felt as if they should have dragged that scene on for much longer. Like, I thought it was pretty suspenseful. And if you think about it, it would be a pretty scary situation to be in. Just, like, tied to, like, gurney with all the nurses around you. I thought as if that was, like... I think it was a great shot when he kind of just wakes up and looks around and sees the nurses. I like that, like, situation. I felt as if they should have dragged the scene on for a lot longer. Like, it was pretty suspenseful. I just liked the situation. Like, it was fun to watch. It was tense. I wonder, like, the whole entire situation does fall apart when you think about it, though, because, like, the characters are freaking out and trying, like, she's trying to untie him from the bed, and, like, they're freaking out, making a lot of noise, thus the nurses are getting closer to them. It's kind of like, well, if you just stop, nurses will stop and just, like, try and get him off the bed just very slowly, then your problem is solved. Like, she could do that at any time, but I guess, whatever. Like, I suppose you could say they were panicking, so I guess that's the reason. They were panicking and freaking out, so they didn't really think about it, I suppose. But yeah, they could have stopped it at any time. So that scene is kind of bad in that sense, and the whole sequence where those two guys get killed by the nurses is like laughably bad. But the whole sequence with him, like, focusing on him tied to the bed surrounded by the nurses and them trying to escape, I thought that was awesome. I thought that was a really suspenseful scene. The effect, I already talked about the effects. Like, the set designs are great, the creatures look decent enough, Pyramid Head looks fantastic. The acting is decent enough. I'm not a guy who cares about acting, like I said. There are quite a few moments of, like, really bad acting, but whatever. Jump scares, there's a lot of jump scares in the movie, and they are irritating. There were only two jump scares got me. There were only 2 jump scares in the whole entire movie that got me, but there are a lot of them, and it's just, no. Jump scares unnecessary. Like, do I really have to say anything about it? Like, people talk about jump scares, like, people bash jump scares to death. I don't think I can really add anything more to the subject. It has a lot of jump scares and they are annoying. And only 2 of them actually made me jump. The movie has some great visuals. Like, I guess this I guess this would go under cinematography, I suppose. But the movie has some really cool visuals. Like, I love the opening sequence, like the whole the carousel sequence. I thought that, like, the visuals on that was great. Like, Pyramid Head is kind of sitting in the center of the carousel. He's, like, winding up the carousel with this weird crank, and he's kind of got this, like, chain kind of embedded into his flesh, like Hellraiser style. I thought that was, like, a great visual, just the Pyramid Head kind of sitting there winding up the crank with this chain, like, embedded into him. I thought that looked fantastic. It was, like, the movie has some great images, like the mannequin creature and everything like that. Like, that mannequin creature was really cool. Like, not as cool as Pyramid Head, but the mannequin creature was cool. And, like, the asylum, like I said, it just falls into sets, I suppose. The set designs are really nice. Everything looks really cool. There was one thing I was going to talk about, but I can't remember. Oh yeah, this is it. Characters are introduced randomly that you've never seen before at several points in the movie, just to... like, the characters randomly pop out throughout the movie at random points, and their only purpose is to deliver a little bit of exposition before getting killed. Like, this happens to several characters, and, like, it's pretty, it's like it kind of gets, like, routine. Like, you grow to know the routine of the movie. Like, a character is introduced who we've never seen before. The character delivers some exposition. The character gets killed after delivering the exposition. Like, with the mannequin creature, a character is introduced very briefly and gets killed instantly by the mannequin creature, like, straight away. And, like, the character's only purpose was to show how the mannequin creature operated. The character's only purpose was to show to us, the audience, what the mannequin creature does and how it kills its victims. And so, like, the movie does that at several points, just introducing characters who we've never seen before for, like, 5 seconds, only to kill them off after they've delivered some exposition. So that's kind of, like, laughable, I suppose. I mean, it becomes pretty... Like, you get to know the formula. The movie has, like, formula. Like, every scene, every sequence, they are going to introduce a new character briefly, only to kill them off. after delivering some exposition. Like the private investigator is the perfect example. I mean, what the hell was the point in his character aside from the exposition? So as this movie was like in 3D, it does have a few like awkward moments where things are coming out towards the camera for awkwardly long periods of time. And like if you're watching this in 2D, it's like just kind of awkward and uncomfortable to watch because it's, well, you're watching it in 2D, so it's kind of like, yeah, this is for the 3D version, but we're not watching it in 3D, so it doesn't matter. So it does have a few awkward moments like that. What else? The ending resolution. The way the ending... I'll talk about that in the spoiler section, I'll get into that later, but that's really all I have to say about the movie. So the acting's pretty meh. The special effects are decent enough. The story is very confusing, it's not very strong, and it's also very confusing because the whole entire, like, you as an audience member knowing like anything about the story completely hinges on that one motel scene. Everything you need to know about the story is delivered to you in that one motel scene, and if you miss that scene, it's over for you. You won't know what the hell's going on for the remainder of the film. And also, the characters deliver a large quantity of information in this one scene in such a short period of time. So you have like 5 seconds to digest a huge amount of information. And obviously, since a large amount of information is being given to you, it's really difficult to process all the information. So it's a good chance you're not going to remember most of the stuff they say, and this will leave you confused. Like, there's a lot of, like, you may be able to get a gist of the movie like I did, but a lot of things will happen where you're just confused as to why they are happening, and they just don't make sense to you. So that's the film's flaw, biggest flaw in my opinion. They deliver the information on the story way too quickly, and they should have paced themselves a lot better when explaining the rules of the film. And thus, the story is very confusing. But having said that, and you know all the flaws the film has, watch it anyway. I would say don't watch it for the story, watch it for the special effects, the set designs, and the action. The action is decent, the creatures look cool, there's some suspenseful scenes, and Pyramid Head is badass. So just watch it for, you know, just for the action, for the creatures, and you should have a good time if you're just watching it for that. Don't watch it for the story, like I said, just come to watch it for the awesome like creature designs and special effects and set designs, that sort of stuff. So I will say, at the end of the day, it's worth watching if you want to see some cool monsters. And I'll just leave it at that. Watch it for the cool monsters. And at the end of the day, I enjoyed it. I thought it was entertaining. I would go as far as to say, watch it. I would recommend it. Only for the special effects, of course. For the cool monster designs. If you're looking to be legitimately scared or just want a good story, obviously stay away from the movie, just watch it for the special effects. But I did enjoy the movie overall, and that's all I have to say about Silent Hill Revelations 3D. So I enjoyed it overall. I'm briefly going to talk about the ending. I didn't like the resolution. You better have left now because I'm about to spoil something, or at least vaguely spoil something. So just leave now. You've had your warning. So the power of love is kind of partially the resolution to the story. Like there's a sequence where good... you know, the girl, like good Alicia is battling evil Alicia, and basically they are kind of like hugging each other, and it's basically, that's all they're doing, and it's basically them just hugging each other, and she kind of just overpowers her by the power of love. Her touching her like makes her defeat her because she has the power of love. I didn't like that whole sequence, that was lame. Like I hate it when movies or TV shows do this power of love defeats all bullshit. It's just like a cop-out. It's really anticlimactic when they do that sort of stuff, and this movie is no exception, so I really hate that. And also, that fight between Pyramid Head and that creature at the end, what the hell? I feel as if Pyramid Head should have just decapitated the creature to begin with. Like, yeah, sure, the creature moved pretty fast, but that creature was kicking Pyramid Head's ass, and I didn't like that. I felt as if Pyramid Head should have just killed it straight away. I'm just saying, I didn't like that. I felt as if Pyramid Head should have defeated it straight away. Like, it was, like, I know Pyramid Head did have the last laugh by decapitating it, but Pyramid Head is, like, really cool. I kind of felt as if it was an insult to the character for Pyramid Head to get its ass kicked by this creature for, like, you know, 5 minutes straight before finally decapitating it. So I thought that was kind of lame in that regard. Like, I just wish Pyramid Head just killed it straight away. Like, this would have, like, you know, shown how badass Pyramid Head is. But whatever, that's the movie, that's all I have to say. That's the spoiler section of the review done. So that's all I have to say about Silent Hill Revelations 3D. So, thanks for watching and see ya.